The paradox of the simple and the difficult. Dear seekers, today we begin a journey where simplicity reveals its most intricate and hidden face. At first glance, the universe appears to be governed by clear rules, by predictable rhythms, as if it were nothing more than a graceful dance of cause and effect. Yet as soon as we try to simplify reality, we quickly realize that each attempt to make it easier only exposes new layers of mystery, urging us to dive deeper. What seems effortless at first glance suddenly expands into something vast, challenging, and profoundly transformative. Before we move forward, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to the channel Dazzle of Dawn. On the surface, it might appear to be a simple digital action, but metaphysically it is so much more. It is an intentional act of resonance. When you do this, your energy merges with the collective field, amplifying the quantum frequency that carries this content. That one small choice allows this message to reach more lives, multiplying transformation and wisdom outward like ripples across an endless ocean. But the simplicity of the universe is everywhere. In the fall of a single drop of water, in the soft breeze brushing our face, in the quiet rhythm of the heart. Yet within that very simplicity lie great mysteries. The easy becomes difficult because when we look closely, we see that nothing is only what it seems. Every drop of water contains the ocean, every breath of wind carries the universe, and every heartbeat echoes like eternity, pulsing inside the body of time. This paradox becomes the starting point of our reflection. Life is inviting us to recognize that what seems obvious is not always obvious at all. What we think we already understand often conceals unseen layers waiting to be uncovered. And these layers are only revealed when we allow ourselves patience, silence, and openness to look beyond what is immediately in front of us. In that moment, what is simple transforms into an invitation to infinity itself. Physics, as well as metaphysics, teaches us that behind every apparent law lies a deeper network of hidden relationships. What we often label as easy is only the surface of something endlessly rich, like the worn cover of an ancient book concealing a story powerful enough to transform generations. The true secret is not in escaping complexity, but in learning to live inside of it with courage, reverence, and a willingness to grow. And so, in this gathering, you will be guided to understand that the beauty of the universe is not found only in the clarity of its laws, but in the mystery that pulses inside them. The simple is the key, but every key must find its lock, and that lock requires us to step beyond the role of mere spectators. We are called to become participants, co-creators, interpreters of the cosmic dance that surrounds and sustains us. The gaze that transforms the world. When we move through the world in a constant rush, everything seems obvious, predictable, and almost mechanical. Life looks flat, limited to what is immediately in front of us. But the moment we stop, breathe, quiet the noise within, and truly observe, something magical happens. What once appeared ordinary reveals itself as extraordinary. A single drop of dew becomes a mirror reflecting infinity. The flame of a candle, so small and fragile, transforms into a miniature star, holding in its glow the same mystery of the galaxies above. The secret has never been in the object. It has always been in the gaze that beholds it. This gaze is quantum in nature. It shifts reality itself, because the very act of observing is never neutral. We bring our awareness like a lantern entering a dark room, changing the space by the simple fact of illuminating it. Quantum physics speaks of this through the idea that the observer influences the observed. Metaphysics, with its timeless wisdom, reminds us that attention is creative energy. It shapes, molds, and sculpts the contours of our experiences. If you truly wish to transform your life, begin by transforming your gaze. Instead of asking, "Why is this so hard?" try asking, "What is the simple truth trying to teach me here?" That single shift in perspective is both practical and deeply powerful. When facing a challenge, don't rush only toward the final solution. Instead, pause long enough to contemplate the process, to uncover the hidden lesson, to let the moment itself step forward as a quiet, patient teacher. I myself have walked through situations where the obvious was not enough. While writing about profound topics, I often realized that my first explanation felt too shallow, too plain. But when I returned, slowed down, and looked again with fresh patience, depth revealed itself, as if it had been waiting in silence for me to be ready. Life is like this. What feels difficult is often nothing more than the simple that has not yet been fully explored or allowed to bloom. But you can apply this in the most ordinary parts of your day. When cooking, don't just see ingredients. Notice the invisible alchemy that turns grain, fire, and water into nourishment. When walking, don't only feel the weight of your steps. Recognize how each step echoes into the earth, connecting you with the living energy pulsing beneath your feet. The simple becomes profound the moment your gaze expands to witness what is truly happening. So here is the invitation. Expand your gaze. Allow yourself to be surprised by the obvious. Reality becomes magical not because it has changed, but because you have changed the way you relate to it. And in that moment, the universe gently reveals its secret. The difficult is not impossible. It is simply another hidden layer of the easy, patiently waiting for the light of your conscious attention. The dance between order and mystery. The universe is woven from a fascinating duality, order and mystery. Order gives us a sense of stability and safety. It is the rhythm that ensures the sun rises every morning, the gravity that holds our feet firmly on the ground, the seasons that return faithfully year after year. Mystery, however, is the realm of the unknown. It is the vast open space where imagination and faith intertwine, where possibilities take shape long before our eyes can see them. Together, these two forces create the stage on which all of existence unfolds. Classical physics once believed that if we could know all the laws of nature, we could predict everything. It imagined the cosmos as a perfect machine, transparent, calculable, and endlessly predictable. But quantum physics shattered this illusion by revealing a hidden truth. Beneath the apparent order lies uncertainty, probability, and a mystery that refuses to be locked inside exact formulas. The universe, it seems, was never meant to be a machine. It was meant to be a living, breathing dance. Metaphysics has whispered this secret for thousands of years. Life is made of polarities that do not cancel one another, but rather weave themselves together. Light and darkness, the seen and the unseen, the easy and the difficult. The goal is not to reject one side and cling to the other, but to learn how to move gracefully between them, like a traveler walking with one foot on the solid earth and the other reaching toward the endless sky. Humanity itself exists at this delicate meeting point. Perhaps you have already lived this paradox in your own life. Times when everything felt controlled, predictable, neatly in place, until the unexpected arrived and shook the foundation of your certainty. In that moment, you were invited to pass through the veil of mystery. And if you chose not to freeze in fear, but instead welcomed the unknown, you discovered a new path, one broader and more alive than the one you had planned for yourself. Applying this in daily life is an exercise in trust. The next time something unforeseen interrupts your routine, instead of fighting against it, pause and ask, "What is the mystery trying to show me right now?" That single question shifts the energy of the situation, opening space for uncertainty to become a teacher instead of an enemy. Life no longer feels like a battle against the unknown, but like a flowing dance with the invisible. And it is within this dance that we discover the true beauty of existence. Order gives us the ground beneath our feet, but it is mystery that grants us wings. The easy invites us forward, but it is the difficult that expands us beyond our limits. Together, they form an invisible choreography, guiding us toward a deeper understanding of life, of the cosmos, and of ourselves. The simple as a portal to the infinite. So often we dismiss what is simple because we've been conditioned to believe that true knowledge must be complicated, sophisticated, or hidden behind complexity. Yet the simple is not shallow at all. It is, in fact, a portal. When we pay careful attention to something that seems ordinary, it suddenly opens before us like a horizon without end. The whisper of the wind, the light streaming through a window, the steady beat of a heart. Each one holds a key that can unlock an understanding of the whole. Quantum physics reminds us that even the smallest invisible particle contains within it the mystery of the entire universe. Metaphysics echoes this truth, teaching us that the small always contains the whole, that every gesture reflects a greater cosmic dance. What seems easy only feels difficult because we doubt that infinity could ever hide inside the ordinary. But it is there, quietly waiting for our attentive presence to notice. You can try this yourself right now. Choose any object near you, a pen, a stone, a leaf. Hold it and look at it in silence. Notice its texture, its weight, the way it takes shape in your hand. Then imagine the story of that object, where it came from, how many forces of nature conspired to bring it here. What soil, what rain, what hands touched it before it reached you. This simple exercise reveals the infinite concealed within what at first seemed common. I recall a time when I was simply holding a cup of tea. At first, it was nothing, just a drink to warm me. But as I paused, I began to see an invisible web of connections. The earth that nourished the plants, the hands that picked the leaves, the water that boiled, the fire that heated it. In that instant, the simple, just drinking tea, unfolded into a cosmic experience. And I understood that nothing, truly nothing, is ever small. When we learn to see the simple as a portal, we stop chasing answers only in the faraway and start discovering them in what is already close to us. Life ceases to feel like a constant race after what we do not yet have, and becomes instead a deep contemplation of what is already resting in our hands. The infinite, after all, is not some distant future to be reached. It is a present moment that must be awakened to. So never underestimate simplicity. It is in the seemingly obvious, the everyday, the overlooked, that the universe hides its most precious treasures. Whoever learns to see infinity in what appears easy discovers that difficulty is only a veil, an invitation to look beyond first impressions and glimpse the vastness that was there all along. The complexity that emerges from simplicity. Life itself teaches us that all complexity is born out of simplicity. Think of a tree. It begins as nothing more than a small, fragile seed. And yet, from that single unit sprout roots, trunk, branches, leaves, and fruit. What once appeared small and unimportant reveals itself as a living structure of breathtaking complexity, capable of sheltering birds, providing shade, and even transforming the air we breathe into something that sustains life. What seemed simple at the start becomes a universe in its own right. Well, the same is true of consciousness. A single simple thought has the power to expand outward into feelings, into actions, and into consequences that ripple across the world. Take the idea of loving your neighbor. At first, it seems easy to grasp, but to truly live it out requires walking through challenges, letting go of old wounds, practicing forgiveness, making deep choices that are not always comfortable. The simple, when lived fully, reveals itself as immense and transformative. In physics, this truth is mirrored in the concept of fractals, patterns that repeat themselves endlessly, growing more and more intricate as they unfold. What begins as a simple design evolves into a stunningly complex tapestry, almost beyond comprehension. Our lives mirror this very principle. A single small gesture, a kind word, a moment of courage, a choice made with clarity, can ripple outward in waves, influencing the field of existence in ways we cannot predict. I have witnessed this many times while teaching. A brief phrase, spoken almost like a seed tossed into the wind, would take root in someone's heart and later blossom into a profound transformation in their life. What at first seemed like a plain, simple explanation often became the doorway to deep processes of growth that only revealed themselves with time. The small act was never small. It was a spark igniting a much larger fire. You can practice this truth in your own life by paying attention to the smallest choices. A gentle word spoken at the right time, a daily habit of presence, a single conscious decision. All of them appear easy in the moment, yet like seeds, they carry within themselves the potential to shape your story, and even the stories of others. What looks simple on the surface is the root system of the complexity that will inevitably grow. So, instead of running from simplicity, learn to embrace it with reverence. For it is within the seemingly easy that the universe hides its greatest power, the ability to give birth to worlds. And when you recognize this, you begin to see that every ordinary gesture, every quiet choice, is really an opportunity to participate in the vast and intricate harmony of the cosmos itself. The observer and the mystery. There is a subtle but profound truth that flows through both science and spirituality. The observer influences what is being observed. In quantum physics, this appears as the impossibility of separating the act of looking from what is seen. In metaphysics, it appears as the creative consciousness that shapes reality itself. Mystery does not live only outside of us. It also exists within, in the very way we choose to engage with the world. When you look at a problem believing it is impossible, your energy unconsciously strengthens invisible barriers. But when you open yourself to possibility, the very same situation begins to reveal new pathways that were hidden before. Consciousness is like a lighthouse. It can cast darkness or radiate light depending on where it is directed. And that light is not only intellectual, it is emotional, spiritual, and vibrational, shaping how reality responds. I remember a moment in my own life when everything felt locked, as if I was pressed against a wall with no exit. For days I stared at the situation as though it were made of stone. But when I shifted my focus and asked myself, what is this wall trying to teach me? Something opened. The answer did not come from outside. It rose quietly from within. I realized that the obstacle was never punishment. It was an invitation to realign the posture of my soul toward life. You can practice this same shift right now. Take a challenge that weighs on you, and instead of repeating it in your mind as a burden, approach it as if it were a riddle waiting to be solved. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and ask, what does this challenge want to reveal to me? With that change of gaze, you will feel the energy move. What once felt hard begins to lose its solidity, and the easy starts to show itself, slipping gently through invisible cracks. But this is the true power of the observer, not merely to watch, but to participate. Once we understand that life is not something happening in front of us, but something happening through us, we step into our role as co-creators. The mystery no longer feels like an enemy or a wall. It becomes an ally, opening doors that seemed forever closed and showing paths we could never have drawn alone. In the end, the secret is not about controlling everything. It is about learning to look in such a way that the mystery is allowed to reveal its wisdom. The awakened observer does not need all the answers. What they need is the courage to keep their gaze open, even when standing before the unknown. And in that act of open awareness, life itself begins to whisper its secrets. Time as the invisible teacher. And another place where the simple becomes difficult is in our relationship with time. We measure hours, days, and years as though they were only numbers passing across a clock's face. But beneath that surface, time is a living mystery. It teaches us, transforms us, and often reveals that what felt impossible yesterday can suddenly appear simple tomorrow. Time is not only measurement, it is consciousness in motion, shaping us as it moves. Modern physics has shown us that time is not absolute, but relative. It bends, it stretches, it compresses depending on the forces at play. Metaphysics, echoing this truth from a different angle, describes time as an invisible teacher, a quiet master who organizes the lessons of our journey. The easy and the difficult alternate like the seasons of the year, each one arriving with its own rhythm, its own invitation, and its own wisdom to impart. In my own life, I have learned that many of the answers I once chased with impatience only arrived when I finally surrendered to waiting. Time acted like a silent gardener, ripening the fruit at exactly the right moment. To force the harvest too soon would have destroyed the seed. But to respect the process allowed something even more beautiful to blossom, something I could never have imagined if I had rushed it. You can apply this principle by practicing what I call active patience. This is not passivity, but a kind of trust in motion. When you stand before a dream, do your part. Work, plant, tend, nurture. But then allow time to do its part as well. Remember, the clock of life does not follow our human urgency. It follows the harmony of the universe. And what feels difficult today may unfold into ease with the natural ripening of days and seasons. This perspective changes how we meet our challenges. Instead of seeing time as a relentless enemy pushing against us, we begin to recognize it as an ally, quietly working in our favor. Each passing second is not just loss. It is an opportunity to learn, to mature, to align ourselves more deeply with the greater flow. The easy and the difficult stop being opposites and become stages in the same ongoing process of growth. Time, when understood as a teacher, instills humility. It shows us that we do not control everything, but we can learn from every moment given to us. It reminds us that the mystery of life does not need to be solved instantly. It needs to be lived with openness, trust, and presence. When we walk with time as our guide, the difficult slowly unfolds into the simple, and the simple reveals itself as infinite. The heart as the key to knowledge. The intellect constantly strives to understand the universe through theories, calculations, and words. Yet there is a place within us that knows without needing to explain. That place is the heart. The heart is far more than an organ pumping blood. It is a vibrational field, capable of receiving and transmitting information beyond logic and reason. Science is only beginning to recognize this hidden power, while metaphysics has proclaimed it for centuries. It is through the heart that we gain access to the hidden simplicity of the cosmos. Quantum physics tells us that everything vibrates, that all existence is energy in motion. The human heart vibrates at frequencies that directly influence the energetic field around us. When we consciously cultivate emotions like gratitude, compassion, and love, our vibration aligns with the greater harmony of the universe. In that alignment, what once felt impossibly difficult begins to dissolve into clarity. The heart quietly opens doors that the mind, with all its brilliance, cannot unlock on its own. On my own journey, I discovered that many of the answers my mind struggled to reach would naturally arise when I fell silent and listened with the heart. The heart does not speak in language or equations. It communicates in subtle impressions, in gentle certainties, in intuitive flashes that light the way forward. In this space, the difficult becomes easy, not because effort disappears, but because trust takes its place. The heart knows how to flow where the mind only tries to force. You can experience this truth for yourself right now. Place your hand gently over your chest, close your eyes, and breathe deeply. With every inhale, imagine you are receiving light from the vast universe. With every exhale, see that light expanding outward, radiating beyond your body into the space around you. This simple practice connects you to a quiet field of wisdom, where simplicity begins to reveal itself without struggle. When the heart takes the lead, life begins to move to a different rhythm. Challenges are not eliminated, but they are embraced with serenity. The heart does not try to control reality. It seeks instead to harmonize with it. And in that harmony, we discover that true intelligence is not purely rational. It is vibrational. The key to knowledge does not reside only in books, formulas, or theories. It pulses inside us with every beat of the heart. In this way, the easy and the difficult stop being rivals and begin to act as parts of the same song. The heart becomes the conductor, weaving these notes into a greater symphony. It reminds us that the universe was never meant to be conquered or dominated. It was meant to be felt, experienced, and lived. And it is through the heart that we are able to hear the deeper music of existence. The invisible that sustains the visible. Everything we see is born from what we cannot see. This is a truth on which both modern physics and ancient spirituality quietly agree. Invisible particles give rise to matter, just as invisible intentions shape our choices. The visible world is only the surface. The invisible is the foundation upon which everything rests. To recognize this shifts not just our perspective, but the very way we live. Metaphysics reminds us that what we nurture in thought and emotion creates the field that sustains our reality. If we carry disorder within, sooner or later it will manifest outside. But if we cultivate inner harmony, the world around us begins to reflect that vibration like a mirror. What we call difficult is often nothing more than the visible echo of a harmony not yet established in the invisible. I remember a season in my life when everything around me felt chaotic and unsteady. I tried again and again to fix things on the surface, adjust in the external circumstances, but nothing truly changed. It was only when I turned inward, aligning my intentions and emotions, that the outside began to follow. The invisible quietly reorganized the visible. That is the silent path of real transformation. You can practice this in your daily life by setting aside simple moments of silence. Just 5 minutes of stillness each day is enough to realign your energy. In that space, visualize your life in harmony, as if it were already unfolding with balance and peace. The invisible does not respond to desperation or fear. It responds to clarity. And clarity builds bridges between what seems easy and what feels impossibly hard. And this is why reality cannot be fully understood only by looking at the surface. What the eyes cannot see, the heart can sense. What the mind cannot explain, the soul can intuit. The visible is the fruit, the invisible is the root. And when we care for the root, when we nurture it with attention and presence, the fruit flourishes on its own. When we truly understand this, we begin to honor the invisible not as absence, but as a creative presence. We discover that the simple act of thinking with clarity, feeling with intention, and acting with love already reorganizes the fabric of existence. The invisible sustains the visible, and it is within that unseen field that the true work of life takes place. Closing, the harmony of the easy and the difficult. We now arrive at the end of this journey. Yet the lesson left behind is not meant to close here. It is an invitation for a lifetime. Easy and difficult are not enemies locked in battle, but complementary polarities that complete one another. The easy calls to us, opens the door, and shows us the beginning. The difficult deepens us, strengthens us, and expands who we are. Together, they weave the path of awakening. Simplicity is the key, while complexity is the song that blossoms from it. When we look at the universe with this awareness, everything changes. A problem no longer feels like a heavy burden, it becomes a teacher. What once seemed like ordinary routine transforms into a living portal. Every situation is a page in a cosmic book, being written by our very hands. What feels difficult is only the easy in disguise, waiting patiently for our maturity to unfold its hidden lesson. And this vision unites science and spirituality, reason and poetry. Quantum physics reminds us that everything vibrates within a vast field of possibilities, while metaphysics teaches us that it is consciousness itself that chooses which path to walk. The universe is simple in its laws, yet magnificent in its manifestations. And our journey is to learn how to dance between these two worlds, the world of clarity and the world of mystery. If you received something valuable from this encounter, I invite you to share this video, like it, and subscribe to the channel Deslumbre do Amanecer. This is not merely an act of support for the channel, it is an act of co-creation. When you connect in this way, you expand the vibration of this content, allowing it to reach more hearts, helping others awaken to the same light. Your action becomes a seed that blossoms quietly within the soul of another. Remember, the simple act of breathing already contains the universe. To inhale is to welcome the infinite. To exhale is to return it to the world. The easy exists within every single moment, but it takes awareness to recognize that eternity is hidden within it. The difficult, then, is nothing more than an invitation to dive more deeply into that discovery. And so, we close this passage together. May you carry with you not only words, but a new way of seeing. The next time something appears unbearably complicated, pause and ask yourself, what is the simple truth trying to teach me here? In that instant, you will discover that the universe always speaks, softly, patiently, but with infinite wisdom. All we must do is listen. And so, see you in the next video. with more information on everything that involves growing, evolving, transforming, and manifesting. See you soon.